Welcome to The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lane. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and local advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. This is your host, Ken Lane, here from the heartbeat of Waters Garden Center in Prescott, Arizona. The Mountain Gardener himself. We're talking about all things gardening, and my gardens are just growing by leaps and bounds. The petunias are growing crazy. Tomatoes are growing crazy. Everything was growing until Tuesday. Is that right? When was the hailstorm? We had a hail that hit our gardens, not at the garden center, but at my personal home. I've been preparing, getting things ready for the Mother's Day celebrations, the backyard barbecues, and getting the gardens just in color. I'd been fertilizing, planting my tomatoes and peppers, and I got beat up. I haven't checked the roof yet to see how bad that is. I might have lost a roof. I don't know. It was bad. We were talking, you folks out that 69 corridor, that side of Prescott to Prescott Valley, you just got slammed. And it shredded the trees, took the flowers off of the roses. It demolished at least the buds on my petunias. It took out the pansies. All of the new seedlings that I'd put out, all of them are gone. So I'm going to have to replant. I'll do that this weekend, but dang it. It was so frustrating. I've never seen weather like this in the month of May. Usually May and June are very dry months for the mountains of Arizona. In fact, I'm telling folks, you should be watering. Watering is important. Things are dry. The water runs off, doesn't melt down, doesn't permeate down into the root zone. But this year it seems better. It's nice. It's a little cooler than I want. So hail is not like snow. Hail is like this freakish thing that's up at a thunder. I mean, I've never seen thunderstorms in May. Come on. Who's seen that? It is going to be exceptionally good for the gardens. The hail was a bad thing, but lightning plus moisture and the humidity, that's like the perfect growing season. If you were contemplating putting a new conifer, evergreen, shade trees, fruit trees, this is perfect. Privacy screens from that new neighbor that was built, like now looking down into your privacy. This is the time. Things are starting to ignite with new growth. Things will grow better than in years past because of the humidity, the temperature. You've got this window, the sweet spot that's just perfect. Obviously, this is the weekend for tomatoes, vegetables, herbs, flowers. But I'm telling you, trees and shrubs, it's a great time to be adding those as well. The hail was bad, but most things will recover. My red leaf maples. Yes, I had leaves all over the place. There's still a lot of leaves on the trees, and it will form new buds. No worries. You beat it up and bruised it. The problem is those torn leaves will look bruised and dinged up until it forces new growth. And that'll happen very shortly because this is like the perfect growing environment for plants right now. Your roses might have lost a few buds, but this is the perfect growing environment for roses. Your perennials might have lost its first set of buds, but it will grow back from the roots, coming back very quickly because it's the perfect growing environment. What you'll probably have to replace are those brand new seedlings. If you're growing seed, and it's frustrating, since March, you just put out, it took 2 months to get your tomato plants and your cabbages and your peppers and your eggplants, your rhubarb. They got beat up. Those things you might have to actually replace the entire plant. My pumpkins, giant pumpkins. I love growing giant pumpkins. They were shredded back to the stems. I don't think they're going to come back. And I'm not willing to wait a month to see if they'll come back. We're in the growing season. It's time probably just make the call, spend another $3.99 and put a new one in. Start with a start, not a seed again. The new tomatoes that just had a few leaves coming up and they're shredded, no leaves left. It's probably make the hard call and just put a new one in. My bigger tomatoes, they were protected enough. The top part of the foliage got shredded, but the bottom part is fine. I'll clean it up and fertilize it. What I did is I went out and I mixed up some Flower Power fertilizer. This is a liquid. It's a fertilizer you add to your watering can. So it's like a Miracle Grow kind of thing. Well, it's not Miracle Grow. It's better. And it's very high in phosphorus. So it will help it reform very quickly roots and more stems and flowers. It'll help it recover. Those things that you think can come back quickly, go ahead and give it Flower Power. Those things that are shredded back to the stems, and they're annuals, like my pansies. There's nothing left. Now, I was actually going to try to keep my pansies going through summer. Normally they poop out, but now they look so beat up, so terrible. I'm just going to rip them out of the ground. It's going to hurt me when I do that. I'm just going to put my summer-loving things in, the geraniums and petunias and zinnias and lobelias and alyssums. There's so many flower choices to choose from that love the heat to come. Don't struggle trying to keep those few winter plants left. Snapdragons, kale. The kale took in the shorts. Oh my gosh. They were in bloom. The fragrance was looking so good. I mean, they have been looking like rock stars since January. They were beautiful. Now they look terrible. So I'm just going to rip those out and plant a new thing, not another kale, because they don't like the summer sun, the heat. I'm going to put things that love the heat. So that would be your daisies and geraniums, and there's a whole series of plants. There's so much. I have huge greenhouses filled with choices that love the heat. Don't struggle to make these things come back if you got hit by the hail. I think we're done. Now, I thought we were done 2 weeks ago. Now it's all of a sudden we got hail. It's been kind of chilly, but I think we're done with the risk of frost, at least. Whether the mountains and hail, that's just a crapshoot. You never know. And your neighbors will get it. It will get hammered, and you on this side of the street, you're like you were saved. It's like this weird thing. Certain neighborhoods are hammered, and then other neighborhoods are okay. So they don't get any hail. So it just depends on, that's the mountains for you. I think the south side of Prescott really got a lot of rain. We got like an inch of rain, 1.35 inches of rain this week. That's what's showing up on the rain gauges. So other folks got like 2-3 inches, twice as much. Go figure. That's the mountains. Those clouds have to unload all that weight, have to get rid of all that moisture to get up and over the hills and get to the next, keep traveling to the northeast kind of thing. So this is interesting, the way the mountains work, and then this is an interesting spring. Just some heads up on that. Use Flower Power to help your plants come back if you think there's a chance. If they're just looking terrible, I think it's just you lost them. There's no, or to reset is so long, you'll lose half of the growing season to start over again. This is really important for you folks that started from seed back in February and March. Now you just put them out. I feel your pain. I did some of the same thing, but I'm going to make the hard call and just start over. I think the trees and shrubs, they'll re-leaf and be fine. This is when your fertilizers kick in. If you haven't fertilized this spring, it is time. I mean, you can help push new bud growth, if your things are looking yellow, it's time to fertilize and bring out that green growth. And then lastly, and then we'll wrap this section up. If you've got a plant that's ugly, that's just dead, it's mangy looking, it hasn't come out by now, it's not going to. If you've got a willow tree where half of it's dead, I think it's destined for a chainsaw. If you've got a willow tree that was yellow going into last fall, and it should be this bright, rich green should have been red colored. Now it's coming out again this spring in yellow. It just looks emaciated. It's struggling. It's got issues. It's probably time to either come talk to us, help one last ditch effort, or it's destined for the chainsaw. Just make the call. If it's ugly and bringing you down, or it's dead, it's just dead. If it was going to wake up, it would have woken up by now. It's just got beat up by last winter or something happened. It's time to consider alternatives out in your own landscapes. Got a lot in store for you this week. Be right back after this important message.
You've been listening to The Mountain Gardener with Ken Lane, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join him every week for timely garden advice right for the gardens. Visit Ken where he can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Gee, my flowers just bloom too much.
Said no one, ever. Hi, this is Ken at Waters. We had a crazy winter and everyone's ready for flowers in the garden.
Waters Flower Power is made specifically for Arizona that gives flowers that extra boost to burst into bloom.
It's an energy kick in the plants.
Get ready for roses that rule, peppers that pop, and tomatoes that triumph.
More power to the flowers with Flower Power at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Look, if your mom, wife, or mother-to-be enjoys dead, cut flowers and the peace that comes when dining with all those kids, then by all means, take her to your favorite buffet, rather than some piece of plastic.
But if she really loves her garden, a gift card from Waters makes perfect sense. In reality, you're giving her 90 minutes of peace and quiet while she shops for her own flowers.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, the place where people who love their gardening moms love to shop.
You've been listening to Ken Lane, the Mountain Gardener. Green thumbs learned while working in the Family Garden Center. Now welcome back to the Mountain Gardener.
And we are back with Lisa Waters Lane in the studio. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what is going on with your neighbor's yard? Sometimes it's the same thing's happening and the whole neighborhood's being attacked or blooming or growing, or things that you see in your neighbor's yard, you can also grow in your yard. And so it's helpful to maybe share some of that information. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you.
I know I've got too many days on in a row. I think I need some grandkid time or some beach time or some lake time or mountain bike time. Do you want to go with me?
Anytime. Sure. If we can both get away.
Well, of course. Okay, that is a kind of a thing, isn't it?
It is.
Last time you went to go visit the grandkids, and I held down the fort.
Yes.
And then we both went off to see my mom up in Denver, caused chaos, came back, and you're like going, oh, we should have never left.
Yeah,
so you get another, month or so, and then we can get away.
True.
Actually,
true.
Lisa is on the board of directors for INA, Independent Nurseries of Arizona. All the garden centers, we're all family owned. And so we all know each other. And so we form co-ops. And so all the biggest players in every community, one big garden center in every community is part of INA, Independent Nurseries of Arizona. It's by invitation only. You have to be approved by your sister, brother, nursery. And then we get together and share notes and bring in consultants, and we share vendors, we share trucks. It's hard. We share grows together. We go scope out of their farm. Hey, I found some great conifers up here in Spokane. You should look at them. Should I book you some? We've even gone to China and booked pottery together and shipped things. So this is a very tight-knit group. And Lisa is the board of directors this year, on the board of directors. And I'm whispering sweetly in the board member's ear going, we should go to San Diego, on the beach, look at vendors, growers. The largest grower of predatory or carnivorous plants is right there in San Diego. We should go look at it.
I don't know. I don't know if it's right for the Arizona people to go to California. I don't know. I have to think about that. What are you willing to give me?
Oh, now we're talking negotiations. I like the sound of this.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. So what do you need? We digress way too low here. It's a husband-wife team here. So anyway, and we've got 32 years coming up.
Is it 32 or 33?
Might I wish you a happy Mother's Day?
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. It's been a good ride.
Yes, you got me a cute little coffee cup today that said, best wife ever.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep that around me all time so I can, when you get, snarky, I can just put it in front of you and go, look, I'm the best wife ever.
Coffee cups can be lost, stolen, and broken. In case you're wondering, you get too snarky. We should cover some garden tips, shouldn't we? Or it's Mother's Day weekend. So. We should probably help folks with some garden tips, not our personal issues.
Well, yeah, our personal issues. A lot of people, as I've been dealing with this question a lot, and maybe you've already covered it, but people just got hammered with that hail.
Yeah.
And lots of questions, basically going, is there anything we can do? Will the tree recover? Some people's trees were already struggling from thrip damage, and now they have hail damage. So how do you recover from that
was
one?
a theme. I covered that shortly just with our own personal gardens, but we are seeing a lot of customers were affected, at least in the Central Highlands area. It was a big storm, long storm, and lots of hail, like inches of lots of it. There is time to recover. On trees and shrubs especially, go for it. I would say if you've not fertilized, it's going to take some food to form new leaf buds, new flower buds. And so it's going to take some energy to do that. So it's used all the energy that it had from spring. It's been forming those. It's going to have to reform those leaves that were bruised, torn, damaged, or just fell off. And so you should refertilize those things, especially if you've not done it this spring, or you used a synthetic fertilizer this spring. I mean, don't use synthetics. Use all natural foods. And so if you put Water's all-purpose 744 food down, you're good because that slowly breaks down. The rain releases a little more. You're good to go. If you haven't done that this spring, though, reapply. Put some more down. Come in and get a bag. Just sling it around the root zone, and it will help feed the plants. So it's like a steak and potatoes kind of thing. It's like a bodybuilder. It's got to form some new muscles. You need to give it some strong proteins. This is what the protein is for plants. And so that's one thing. Flowers, they got shredded. I would say if they're spring flowers, like early spring, pansies, petunias, they're gone. You're not, just replace them. I hate to tell you that, they're gone. Pull them out, what's left, and replace them with good summer thriving flowers. If it were vegetable starts or new flower starts and they just got shredded down to the stems, they're gone. They're just not going to make it. They're not going to re-leaf. They're just too young. There's not enough roots underneath them to start over. So don't bother fertilizing those. They aren't even worth it. Just come in and get a new start, new vegetable start or herb start or whatever, and start over, and you'll quickly recover because the ground is warm and moist now. So that's the best I can do. Flower power, I mentioned what we did for ours. I gave our flowers flower power to help them juice up. Again, quick, available fertilizer that's phosphorus centric, that helps form new roots and new flowers. That's the best you can do for things.
My poor petunias, they were gorgeous. Broke my heart.
I'll clean them up and we'll get them going this weekend. I'll in between the mothers' gatherings, while you all are chit chatting inside, I'll go out and take the guys out. We'll go clean petunias.
Oh, I'm sure they'll want to do that. Okay, we have another question from Sandy. She wants to know, is it too late at this point to put out wildflower seed?
No, I think you're okay. It's been cool enough. I would say go for it. What I would do, though, kind of just in case factor, because you're on the line right now. At the higher elevations, go for it. Don't do this step. But for the lower elevations, that's under 6,000 foot. Not that that's low elevation. But, do this. Take your wildflower seed. Whatever your varieties, we've got some special mixes we made just for us here in the mountains of Arizona. Take that seed mix and then chuck it in the freezer for 2 days. And then pull it out and then plant it. What we want to do is just freezing those seeds, which they're used to that. The seeds will expand. And then as you pull them out, they'll contract, and so it'll crack the holes open. Especially, we've got a fancy parade of poppy mix. Poppies really need to have that freeze thaw. And I'm not sure if you got enough season left to do that. I would say that's just insurance. And then go spread them out like you would any other wildflowers. And that's just a little tip. And we've got a handout that shows you how to do it, more detail, more than we want to take here. But that's one insider. Yes, you can do it. Go for it. Just throw it in the freezer for 2 days and then plant them.
Okay, good advice. Time for another quick question. I think Joanne is looking for a butterfly bush, but she doesn't want one. She remembers the old ones that would get tall and scraggly. Have they come out with new ones that are better? Yeah,
there are easier care. You've got the regular Budley or butterfly bush. It gets the dark nights. They're 10-foot tall, huge flowers. Butterflies are magnet all over them, but they're high maintenance and they're short-lived. We've got an entire new series. We're trying to introduce more and more butterfly bush that stay only head high, or hip high, or even ground cover varieties. They have the same flower, It attracts the butterflies the same, but now you don't have all that maintenance to cut it back every year. Children, small dogs have been lost in butterfly bush, the old-fashioned ones. The new varieties are just cute. They're easy to maintain. They have the same color, actually more color on them than the old-fashioned ones. So many more choices than your grandparents ever dreamed of, and more colors. It used to be just blue or purple. That was it. Now we've got reds and whites and all these varieties. It's downright fun. And so, go ahead and come in and see us. And now's the time to plant them as we go into the heat of the season. So great questions this week, folks. Be right back with Ken and Lisa Lane and the Mountain Gardeners.
You're listening to Ken Lane, a.k.a. the Mountain Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Waters Garden Center. Listen each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to mountain gardens.
Roses are red and yellow and pink.
Getting a vacuum for Mother's Day can really stink.
Give Mom a gift that delights year after year. A beautiful blooming rose from Waters Garden Center.
Waters is stocked with 700 specialty roses, hand-picked and expertly grown in honor of Mother's Day.
The Garden Center's bursting with color and fragrance, including old favorites and never-seen varieties Mom's gonna love.
Everything's coming up roses at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Growing up in Prescott, we knew spring was here when my grandmother's lilacs bloomed. I'm Lisa Waters Lane, and my grandmother would be thrilled with the new bloomerang purple lilacs at Waters Garden Center. They don't just bloom once in spring, they bloom again in summer. Mine bloomed 3 times last year, making spring last well into fall, and just $29.99. Come check out all the heavenly new sights and scents that are making this spring the most beautiful ever. Lilacs like Grandma used to grow and better. Waters Garden Center in Prescott. You've been listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Join the conversation every week as he answers timely garden questions. Email Ken a question directly from your phone to his desktop through the web at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Now welcome back your host, Ken Lane.
All right, welcome back. We are talking gardening here in the Mountain Gardener, and some things that we're finding. It's like a parade here at the Garden Center of people coming in with little baggies of things. They've got some damage on some leaves. The colors are fading. You can see the variegation in the leaves. The flowers have black in them. There's just all kinds of crazy things happening right now. We are being overrun by insects right now. And let me just tell you what to look for, and that'll kind of help you. I can almost identify what it is just as you come out of your car. I have to actually be patient and let you explain and go through the 3-minute explanation of how you gathered the leaves and what you've been seeing. I've gone, I already know what it is. I could tell you what it is. I already knew. I could have met you in the garden, in the parking lot. Here, this will solve all your issues. But you got to take we've seen so many examples. It's becoming epidemic. It's like not quite biblical proportions. The skies aren't turning black with clouds of insects and pestilence, but it's darn close. And what it is the weeds are bad. And so the weeds feed the insects. The insect eggs start to hatch. Have got a place to eat. And then they start migrating into your yard. And just when you have a moist winter, moist spring, that makes the forest healthy, makes your landscape happy. But it also makes the weeds grow and the bugs grow equally as happy. And so you've got to keep an eye on this, or they can damage all that tender new growth on your plants. Here's what to look for. You're seeing curled leaves on your plants. You're seeing black edges on the tips of the leaves. New growth with black ends. You're seeing bumps, kind of warts on the leaves. You're seeing flowers that bloom and then fade very quickly. They don't bloom as long as they used to, as I remember them. That's an indication. You're seeing on roses or certain flowers, things with large buds, peonies, those kinds of things. You're seeing the very tip of that flower blackened, like someone took a Bic lighter to it. It looks burned. These are all the other one. You'll look at the tip of the branch, and it looks like it's crawling and alive. I mean, those are all indications. Those are all bad. Not one of those things is a good thing for your plants. And so kind of watch that. And what it is we've seen aphids have been out for the last month and a half, maybe 2 months. So that's where the bark is crawling, the ends of aspens and apples, and you'll see. We've seen them on tomatoes. I've seen it on just about everything. Roses, of course. You're seeing either a black-colored aphid, and it looks like a big spider, a small spider, by the thousands, though. It's if you have arachnophobia, you'll freak out by seeing a large tree aphid. Most of them are cute aphids. They're little tiny green to orange-colored aphids, but they all gather up and congregate in large communities by the thousands, and they suck the plant dry. And so they love pine trees. They seem to love aspens and apples. They've been on roses. So you're seeing that. Just look for that. They're really easy to kill, and I'll tell you how to do that in a second. The other one to look for is less obvious because you can't see the insect. Actually, there's two. There's one more coming online that just started maybe last week. But thrip, T-H-R-I-P. You can Google that and take a look. Thrip, T-H-R-I-P. Also called no-see-ums because you can't see them. They're so tiny. They're like a little speck of dust. And you wouldn't think they could do as much damage, but that's what's causing the curling leaves, the pimples, the little warts on the leaves, or the blackened edges of either flowers or foliage. What they do is they got a rasping mouthpart. They come in, they scrape off the foliage, the tissue in the foliage, and it causes this wincing, this curling of the foliage. And so if the plant gets bad enough, if the infection gets bad enough, it will actually cause this blackened edge because the plant cannot keep the moisture and photosynthesis going on the ends. The flowers will get down inside the flower and suck the heart of the flower dry. So the plant will possibly not even bloom. If at the very least the outer petals have blackened edges. And so sometimes they'll open, sometimes they won't. What to do? Here's what to do. We've got a product here at the Garden Center called Multi-Purpose Insect Spray. It's permethrin. So it's a man-made copy of an organic. So permethrin is a copy of pyrethrum, which is crushed mums, basically. And so, but this is more effective. It gets down in the nooks and crannies and has a better knockdown than the organic. I've got an organic if you want, but I would suggest multi-purpose insect spray is better for this type of for as bad as it is. This is what you want to use. It comes in a quart-sized bottle, a pint, so it makes 16 gallons. You mix it up in a watering can, or I would encourage you a hose-end sprayer. These are bugs in early spring where quantity. You just want to hose down the plant till it is sopping wet, dripping wet. Keep your pets and birds and bees and stuff off until it's dry, which will be about 15 minutes, pretty quick. And then it's safe to go back into that area. But if you don't see that, take your cell phone and knock some of the foliage and see if you see little specks of dust jumping around. That's thrip. Or a white sheet of paper. Sometimes you can take a look at that. Or bring a baggie in of a sample. If you can, Ziploc is better. And then come see us and we'll just tell you, here it is. Here's what you do. Here's how you do it. But boy, don't let it keep going. It's so bad and it's not even crescendoed yet. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Especially with this week's rain, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Take care of the insects early. Be right back.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for timely garden advice right for higher elevations. Guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season. Gee, my flowers just bloom too much.
Said no one, ever. Hi, this is Kenneth Waters. We had a crazy winter and everyone's ready for flowers in the garden.
Waters Flower Power is made specifically for Arizona that gives flowers that extra boost to burst into bloom.
It's an energy kick in the plants.
Get ready for roses that rule, peppers that pop, and tomatoes that triumph.
More power to the flowers with Flower Power at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
In a new place, it's difficult to know who to trust, how to get help at the house, and which nursery will simply do what they say they'll do.
At Waters Garden Center, we're here to help, in the landscape at least.
Our team of plant ambassadors know your neighborhood, the plants that add color, increase privacy, and add fragrance and beauty.
And we can show you exactly how to plant locally, or we have teams to do all the work for you.
We are Ken and Lisa Lane, and we guarantee our plants will live up to every promise here at Waters Garden Center. You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening is very rewarding, with a few of Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts sure to turn your thumbs even greener. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
All right, we are back in the studio with Lisa Waters Lane, and she comes and just inspires us with garden advice. Beauty. I mean, what I found was I was getting too much pestilence and death and decay. Lawn questions, tomato questions back in the day. So I said, we need to upgrade our program. The podcast, the radio show is just too dismal. No one will garden. And so I said, Lisa, you want to do a segment and just inspire us? It can't be anything but pretty color, what you can grow and how you grow it. And you've got just the green thumb galore. And so it took me a while, but she finally said, yes.
Oh, I had a choice.
We are running this thing. It took me longer to propose, though, to get her to say yes. So it was easier to get her on the program.
Yeah.
We did date a long time. Why did we date so long?
Because we were in college.
College sweethearts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were
I would
focused.
date you again.
You would?
Yeah, I would. I would. I'd take you out tonight. You want to go? Hey, honey.
My goodness. You're full of it today.
Anyway, I've been working real hard in the back. I was actually doing flowers all day, all the vegetable, herb, and flower that whole house.
Yeah.
Redoing the entire thing. And you get kind of slap happy.
Yes, you do.
And up there, you can chuck all the garden plant information you'd ever learned. It's worthless. It's just a parade of people going, do you got this tomato? And you got 1,000 tomatoes up there. You're not even sure what you have. And you're just an order taker. Go show me early girls or Stupins or German greens or whatever. You just don't, you just, do you have?
Yep.
I know. Cool.
It's that time of year. People are putting their veggies in.
The orders you and Michelle put together are over the top. I mean, the color up, the inspiration up there is unbelievable.
Yeah.
We tried to sort it by color, so all the white flowers together, all the pink flowers, all the purple, all the reds. So you kind of shop by color and pick your theme. All the shades are over here. I didn't realize that we have like 10 different varieties of organic mint. 5 different varieties of organic thyme. I mean,
we got a lot.
Like 6 different varieties of parsley. I never knew till you get up there and get into it and look at it and go, wow, that's amazing.
We have a really, really nice variety of different types of things that you don't just find everywhere. You can get them here.
I took home a strawberry mint and planted it in our herb garden. One of those little steps. I can control it. Well, it won't escape, I think.
I was like, where'd you put mint?
But it smells like a strawberry daiquiri. It's just beautiful.
Did I see banana mint up there?
There's banana mint. There's ginger mint. There's grapefruit mint.
Wow.
Huge leaf. You're doing mojitos. Yeah, spearmint's great, but take a look at grapefruit mint. Yeah. That really is spectacular. Flavored waters and teas. Oh, and it tastes good. It's all organic, so I'm up there sampling, smelling. Of course, probably everyone else has been touching it too, so I'm probably die from some, I don't know. No, they just arrived. It was all good. So
probably Vincent was up there.
Oh, yeah.
He goes up there and eats the strawberries off the thing.
We have a black lab that comes to work with us. So we've got 4 family members. Lisa and myself work here. Our daughter works here, and our black lab. And he lives, thrives. When he dies and goes to heaven, he'll be surrounded by strawberry patches because that's his dream thing. He loves strawberries. So he goes and rummages through and looks for strawberries.
He's bad. He finds them too. It's amazing. But.
So anyway,
you want me to talk about something, or are you going to keep?
Well, we're halfway through this thing. Just some garden inspiration.
Well, since we're talking about edibles, let's kind of continue with that.
Okay.
So putting edibles in your garden, that's called permaculture. Is that correct?
That is correct. You can use it, grow it, and enjoy it.
And there's a lot of people that won't put anything in their yard unless it produces something for them that they can use. Which, I mean, I think that's a really good idea. But I'd also throw some flowers in another.
Oh, yeah.
I would, but
Well, an apple tree or fruit trees, they get the blooms in spring, they get the shade in summer, they get the fall color, and they produce a fruit.
That's true.
You kind of got all the seasons covered,
Yeah.
so you can
Yeah.
have your cake and eat it too if you want. If you don't pick the apples, it's nothing but a mess. So you got to decide what kind of gardens you are.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, I thought we would cover kind of some of those things that do really well in this area that maybe people don't always think about putting in here.
Great.
So raspberries do terrific here. One of my favorite varieties is the Canby variety, and I like that one because it is the most thornless raspberry you can find.
Yeah.
A lot of times raspberries reach out and grab you, and you can tell when you've been picking because your arms are all scratched up.
What, the cholla is a jumping cactus?
Yeah.
Well, Indian summer we have.
Yeah.
That's the old-fashioned raspberry. Produces really great in the mountains of Arizona. It's also the jumping raspberry of raspberry because you feel like you're in a cat fight
get
every time you
eaten
go.
alive
But
by
boy,
it.
it produces. My mouth must be close to lunchtime. My mouth's watering thinking about raspberries.
I think most of the raspberries produce really, really
They
well
do.
here. But if you don't want to get scarred picking them, Canby is the one that you want. Chester thornless blackberry. Now, this is different from your other blackberries in that it actually doesn't bramble as much. It actually has more of an upright kind of bush shape to it. So if you don't want to deal with that brambling that a lot of them do, this would be a good one for you.
So could you make a hedgerow out of that, like say around a patio? And
I don't know.
I mean, I haven't seen that, but that's a brand new introduction. It's hard to find. It's new to us. We carried it late last year, now this year, and it does produce big berries. But I think you might even be able to hedge it and trim it, and I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't.
I might
seen
try
it.
that just to have fun with it.
That's always good to
Yeah.
try fun things with it. Anyways, that's one. Prime Arc, which is more of a brambling one. But the neat thing about Prime Arc is it produces on first and second year canes.
Yeah.
Whereas most of them are only producing on second years.
Gotcha. So pruning techniques make a difference, except with that one. What's the name of that again?
Prime Arc.
Prime Arc. Where'd that name come from? Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Come on. Whoever designed that one needs to hire someone to come up with names.
There's also baby cakes. Baby cakes blackberry, great for containers because it's actually a dwarf blackberry.
Oh.
And it also produces 2 times in the season.
Love it.
Yeah. So if you got a
Double
pot
harvest.
or a small space, that would be a perfect one.
We've
to go
grown that
into.
one too, and it's pretty if nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Also, black currants and red lake currants. I don't think people think currants do that well here.
They grow wild in the Rockies throughout. They're easy to grow.
And they're great. Their fruit ripens up late summer. Great for canning, pies, jellies, all that kind of stuff.
I think that's one of those. It's kind of an old-fashioned fruit.
Yeah.
You know, your grandparents did currant jams and gooseberries and all these funky things. You don't see that as often, but they're super hardy, and they used to go out in the wild and do it.
Right.
Here you can grow one in your own backyard. It naturalizes or xeriscapes or super low maintenance and produces.
And we have gooseberries too. We have a
didn't see
Pixwell
those.
gooseberry. Produces a pink berry late in the summer.
Oh, really? I thought they were all green, but no, pink.
This one
Pink is
turns
good.
pink when it's ripe.
Yeah.
And quickly, I won't have much time to talk about it, we got a whole new series of grapes in. These are the Zestful series. And there's Golden Chalice, which is a large, almost a white grape, really, really big. And the great thing about it, it has a real crisp flavor to it. So that's a new one. Lollipop Grape is a red one that just came out. And then Waterfall, which is a seedless grape, but it's one of those long grapes. You know, it's not round. It almost looks like little fingers kind of thing.
So Zestfuls, these are huge clusters of very large grapes that do well. They've adapted. Grapes grow really well. There's a wild grape that just grows wild here. So you know they're going to produce well for you here. Many vineyards up here. So grapes, I think you could mention pomegranates and figs.
Well, I was going to, but we ran out of time.
Well, we're talking about ourselves too much. I don't know. Be right back with more Ken and Lisa Lane and the Mountain Gardeners.
Look for more tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts through Ken's website. Podcast the show, read his weekly garden column, or follow him on Facebook and Instagram at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com.
Roses are red and yellow and pink.
Getting a vacuum for Mother's Day can really stink.
Give Mom a gift that delights year after year. A beautiful blooming rose from Waters Garden Center.
Waters is stocked with 700 specialty roses, hand-picked and expertly grown in honor of Mother's Day.
The Garden Center's bursting with color and fragrance, including old favorites and never-seen varieties Mom's gonna love.
Everything's coming up roses at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
Wondering why my garden looks amazing? Well, that's personal. The personal garden shopper service at Waters Garden Center, that is. Before talking with my personal shopper, I had no idea which plants would be best for me. But now my garden is bursting with flowers and buzzing with hummingbirds. Just go to watersgardencenter.com, click on Shop, and choose Personal Garden Shopper. A Waters Garden expert will pick the perfect plants for you, personally. The Personal Garden Shopper, only at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
Welcome to the Mountain Gardener with Ken Lane. Gardening in the mountains is different. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now for better advice that works locally, welcome your host, Ken Lane.
So for the mountains of Arizona, now through Memorial Day is the very peak of the planting season. This is when you're going to see the most choices, the most inventory, the most plant selection. This is one, too, that it gets the most. And now the crops have been harvested and they're at the garden center. And we've got some backup of the key items, but those specialty things. If you want a really fancy, reblooming lilac or a special heirloom tomato, those are things you want to grab right away. You don't want to go back and think about it. You want to grab those because the crop rotation, they're pretty much done. So now we're in refill orders. So there's no new stuff coming to your garden center. Just trust me. I've had too many customers come in going, let me think about it. 3 days later, they come back and it's all 30 units are gone. We're at the peak of the planting season. You and all of your neighbors are into the garden center and planting. And I don't care if you're listening from Flagstaff or Kingman or Payson or Pinetop Lakeside or Prescott Valley. We're all in the same thing together between now and Memorial Day. Is your peak. And so you've got a lot of choices. It's a great time to be planting. You've got a lot of growing season ahead of you. I've done quite a bit of planting myself, and here's some things that I'm doing or that I've noticed just this week. So the ground was very dry in my backyard. And so I haven't, the backyard is all natives. So I was planting some succulents and stuff, and I was surprised at how bone dry the soil was. It is critical for you to get that irrigation back on. I would say your big trees and shrubs have been in the ground for over a year. Water those things 1 time per week. And then water it deeply. Water it a long time. Get the water to push down through the entire root zone. I'm not talking every other day for 15 minutes with a drip system. That's like nothing. I'm talking run a drip system for an hour and a half, 2 hours once a week, and then let it breathe, and that'll help push those roots. It'll help encourage a deeper rooted type of plant, shrub, tree, vine, whatever it is. That's a secret. That's one thing. I was really surprised how dry the soil was. Water, turn the irrigation on, tune it up, walk the system, make sure you know what you're doing. Second, when I'm planting, I'm trying to add some organic material to my soil. So I take some bags of mulch, whatever's broken out there, I'll take it home because I own a garden center and I can't sell a broken bag, ripped open thing. A forklift caught the edge and tore it open. I take those back. So it could be topsoil. I'm not using manure. That's too hot right now. I'm using mulch, potting soil, topsoil, those things. I really prefer organic mulch, a premium grade composted mulch. That's the best. Oh my gosh, it's like magic. I'll dig the hole, blend some of that in, then I'm backfilling. But before I plant that plant, whether it's a tomato, I've planted several tomatoes, peppers, squash, succulents this week, some perennial, I think some petunias, some of my container gardens. This is what I'm doing. I'll sprinkle just a touch of Aqua Boost polymer crystals at the bottom of each planting hole. Every single thing I plant, I put a little bit of Aqua Boost in the bottom of the hole. And here is why. Here's what it is. First of all, these are water-holding crystals, polymers that hold moisture at the root level. So if you've got really sandy soil, it'll help that water flushes right through the root zone and your plants are left dry. If you're heavy clay soil, it helps to keep that soil open as those crystals swell and open and shrink, swell and shrink. It keeps the pores open in your soil, and then it holds the moisture in around the root ball. It doesn't allow the water to evaporate off, and I find that it works really well at the bottom of planting holes. It's a game changer. That and AquaBoost, this is a product we make here at Waters Gardens, and we actually put it together right here. It's a polymer, but we've infused it with mycorrhizal fungi. You poor folks out in the valley areas, the Chino Valleys, Pauldins, all that new subdivision building out in Prescott Valley, all the new subdivisions, they come in with a grater and scrape off all the topsoil. And what you're left with is it's dead. I mean, there's no living thing in the soil, and nothing will grow. I mean, they just won't take there. And so mycorrhizal fungi and worms and beneficial fungal things, there's beneficial things that live in the soil, and plants know it. And so if you put a plant in a dead soil, it goes, whoa, I've just been planted on the moon. I'm just going to try to survive. I'm not going to root. I'm just going to try to survive here until something alive happens. If you put a plant into a living soil where it's got worms and fungi and things happening, the plant goes, whoa, God, I'm in paradise. What is going on here? This looks pretty good. And they start to root out. And so you have to think like a plant, especially you folks with a brand new landscape, brand new home. There we infuse these crystals, AquaBoost crystals, with mycorrhizal fungi so we can repopulate the colonies of the beneficials that make plants want to root and grow. You add that with a little bit of mulch, and all of a sudden you've got magic where your plants just take off and start growing. It's critical for things that are seasonal, that is an annual flowers, raised beds, containers, things that are only going to grow to the end of the year, and then they're going to flame out in the winter. Those things need to root fast. You want them just to really go at it. Well, the AquaBoost crystals help to encourage deeper roots faster, so your flowers will stay in bloom longer. So here's one, the tomatoes. We're famous for having tomatoes that have very thick skins, or sometimes they'll crack. That's usually a situation where in the morning you water, and then it dries out. And so this fruit will swell up and then shrink down, swell up and then shrink down as the heat of the day and as it cools off. And so if you can regulate that water more consistently, you'll have more tender fruit. Peppers will have a thicker wall to it. You'll have much sweeter radishes and onions. Otherwise, they tend to turn bitter and bite you almost. These are things that you need consistency of water. If you sprinkle a little AquaBoost crystals in that top layer of the soil at the bottom of the planting hole, it helps to regulate that moisture. I went way farther than I wanted on AquaBoost. Okay, but that's what my name's Ken. We're just friends. We're neighbors talking about over the fence, and here's what I'm doing in my own personal yards. And so that's the AquaBoost seems to last for about a couple of years in the soil. And so it just kind of helps you get started. If you travel a lot, it's a game changer. So now all of a sudden you can travel and go through that cruise up up the Rhine, and you're coming back in 3 weeks and your irrigation failed, the plant will still be alive. Because you have to water half as much with AquaBoost. It holds that moisture, swells up, and just turns into this gelatin thing. If you need more, come talk to me. That's what I'm doing. I am going to fertilize the plants that were shredded. So my poor petunias, I had petunias that were 3 foot round in full bloom. They were glorious. I've been pushing them for a month. They're just stunning. Well, now they're not stunning because the hail came and took all the flowers. The plant's fine. The leaves look a little bruised, but I think they'll recover. They were big enough, they'll recover. Those things, I'm going out and I'm feeding them with Flower Power 54. It's a water-soluble fertilizer, and it's all phosphorus, a 54% phosphorus. It's as high as you can go without it solidifying and dropping to the bottom. So you could feed it with bone meal and stuff, but it won't break down fast enough. You need quick, fast phosphorus, and that's what Flower Power 54 does. I'm going to fertilize all of my flowers with that. and they will come back into bloom. And within 2 weeks, they'll be more fabulous than ever. I mean, they'll just be wow. So I'm going to do that to kind of recover from the hail. I think all of my fertilizer that I did earlier back in March, I think it activated with all the moisture we had this week. I think the roses that got damaged, the salvias, the things that got torn, the leaves torn, I think all that fertilizer will activate and become available, and so it will form new leaf buds very quickly. So if you got damaged by all the rain and the hail this week, don't worry about it. It will recover. Then lastly, if you've got little tiny seedlings that just were bruised and damaged and stripped, make the call and just replace those things. They won't come back for you. Just go ahead and start over again. I hate to tell you that, but I know where a great garden center is. You can come down and get great, big, large starts. And I'll help you personally pick out new ones. It just hurts me because I lost some too. Be right back. We're not done with this thing. Be right with more good garden tips right after this.
You're listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, the owner of Waters Garden Center. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center, located in Prescott, 1815 Iron Springs Road. Thanks for tuning in to The Mountain Gardener. Gee, my flowers just bloom too much.
Said no one, ever. Hi, this is Ken at Waters. We had a crazy winter and everyone's ready for flowers in the garden.
Waters Flower Power is made specifically for Arizona that gives flowers that extra boost to burst into bloom.
It's an energy kick in the plants.
Get ready for roses that rule, peppers that pop, and tomatoes that triumph.
More power to the flowers with Flower Power at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. I remember as though it was yesterday. Should we be open Sundays or not? The revolution came after a church social. After the fellowship, a friend was heading to the box store to get some plants because Waters wasn't open. Sunday was his only day to garden that week, just like it was yesterday. Waters Garden Center. It's open on Sunday from 9 to 5 with plant experts ready to advise on any subject. My name is Ken Lane, owner of Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road, here in Prescott.
You've tuned in to The Mountain Gardener with local garden expert Ken Lane. Join him each week as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lane.
The mountains of Arizona have a number of planting seasons. So we're now phasing out of our spring planting season. This is when pansies and kales and the cool things that love the cold and the snow, and they've been fabulous and beautiful this spring. Unbelievable. Some of them are going to start fading. And so now is the time, if you're going to plant new flowers this week or over the next month, make sure you're planting summer-loving flowers. And so the garden center, we've had 2 full semis of flowers, just loaded up, hanging baskets galore, everything. We're packed full for Mother's Day colors, celebrations. Moms love gardening. They love flowers, and cut flowers are one thing, but we have a lot of gift cards and flower baskets that we bring in just as gift things for moms, because this is the planting season. We've purposely focused on summer-loving flowers. We don't have the cool season things. If you're coming in asking for a pansy or viola, we don't have any. Not here at Waters Garden Center. Maybe up in Pinetop Lakeside or Flagstaff you can find some, because they keep going until Memorial Day. They've got frost or risk of. Here in the Central Highlands, the Kingman through Prescott through Payson, this Central Highlands area, here we're done with frost. I mean, we're going to heat up. So we want plants that can take that. So that's going to be your zinnias and petunias and geraniums and lobelias and alyssums. And there's so many choices. These things just thrive in the heat. You want to make sure you're focused on those kinds of plants. And so do a little bit of homework and know what you're buying, who you're buying from, and where it's going to go, and so you can have more success. So that's because we have the 3 main seasons, basically. We've got early spring. This is late February through May. It's just cold season plants, because we can have frost at any time. It can be cold at any time. Then June, July, August through September is summer. It's our heat-loving things. We're going to be warm, no frost. You want things that can thrive in that type of environment. And then we go right back at it and have another cool season planting cycle. Like we're already starting to plug our pansies for the fall, our mums for the fall, our asters for the fall. We've got this whole series of plants that love the fall through the end of the year. Many of them will bloom right through the winter. It's amazing. Pansies, viola, kale. There's all these very pretty gardens. It's because we're cold 4 seasons, but very mild. And so really shift gears and plant the right things. I've put a lot of geraniums in right now. Petunias. I love petunias. My thing is they're just so pretty. They're so easy. I love a white stream lobelia. It just flows white right down out of the pots, out of the raised beds, right down to the ground. It's amazing white flower that brings out the color of everything else. My salvias, planted quite a few autumn sages, Russian sages, they're about to bloom. They're starting to show color. So within another week, they'll be in full bloom. So these are things you want to shift to summer heat-loving plants. You'll have better success. So these are things, if you're not sure, come in, bring a picture. Snap a picture with your camera phone, iPad, and come in and show us. We can help you. Put the top of a shopping cart. Let us know the dimensions of your pots. And the top of a shopping cart is a great way to put things together, companion plants. Just kind of meditate on it and think about it and go, wow. Or you can do what I do. I just take a big, bold hanging basket that's already been put through. I take off the hanging part. I pull it out of the basket, and I just plop it right into my containers. I'm going, done. All for $24.99. It's so easy. It just looks instantaneous beauty. That's a great way to go as well. So we can help you mix and match, or just plant a full-on hanging basket or cachet pot. And sometimes I don't even pull it. Can I say this out loud? Sometimes I don't even take it out of the pot. I just plant the plastic bucket right in the pot like it is. I just have it grow. I put the irrigation on top of that. It can be that easy sometimes. Ken and Lisa Lane, we're here throughout the week here at Waters Garden Center. Love talking to friends and fans of the show. Roses are red and yellow and pink.
Getting a vacuum for Mother's Day can really stink.
Give Mom a gift that delights year after year. A beautiful blooming rose from Waters Garden Center.
Waters is stocked with 700 specialty roses, hand-picked and expertly grown in honor of Mother's Day.
The Garden Center's bursting with color and fragrance, including old favorites and never-seen varieties Mom's gonna love.
Everything's coming up roses at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
Look, if your mom, wife, or mother-to-be enjoys dead cut flowers and the peace that comes when dining with all those kids, then by all means, take her to your favorite buffet, rather than some piece of plastic.
But if she really loves her garden, a gift card from Waters makes perfect sense. In reality, you're giving her 90 minutes of peace and quiet while she shops for her own flowers.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, the place where people who love their gardening moms love to shop.
If you want a more fruitful garden, increase success in your landscape that just feels better, then tune in every week to The Mountain Gardener. Years of tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts are guaranteed to make your gardens nicer than ever. Listen to this podcast or read Ken's weekly garden column by visiting watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Thanks for tuning in.